my YouTube humans. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Boy, do we have a very special day ahead of us. A day of learning, as I just did. As you saw, pulling the motor and transmission out of the EVO was not as hard as I thought it was gonna be. Actually pretty easy to do this. Now going back into the car, I don't know. I'm trying to keep track of all the bolts, but you know, things do get lost. But today we are going to start pulling the motor, tearing the motor down. We'll say it, tearing the motor down. So this whole video is going to be tearing the motor down. Transmission, T-case are going to be separated from the motor. I already did some of the work. I had to because it was kind of floppy, ready to tip over. So I'll show you guys what I did in the meantime, before. But we are going to tear this entire motor down because I've got to get this thing to a machine shop. A lot of these machine shops are very backlogged. That's the word, backlogged. So the earlier I can get in, hopefully the quicker I can get it back. And then I'm going to do a full build video, but I have to take a day off from work because I want to ask my friend if he can help me. I've never built a motor, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I kind of have an idea of how to do it, but as far as the measurements, I want to make sure I'm measuring everything correctly, properly, because when you get it back from the machine shop, you do want to go over, take their measurements and go off of your measurements with your tools and whatnot. Do all your clearance checks that you have to do, write everything down to make sure what they clearance is very close, like within a thou of your measurements, and then you can kind of go from there. Right now, let me show you guys what I did before I start tearing everything else apart. I did do a little bit of work last night, did not film it, just cruised through it real quick. It took about, I don't know, 10 minutes to do, just to separate the pieces. So forgive me, I don't have the best lighting, but I got the good old 6-liter. I got the little cross subframe member bracket thing. I forgot what that's called, but I got that off. That is very dirty. As you can see, the motor is separated. I have the T-case, trans, and motor still attached to each other, but I did take the front subframe off. I'm going to dismantle that first because it's a little bit easier, but I had to take it off because this wasn't sitting right. It was kind of leaning over. It was hard to push it. Right now it's pretty solid. This will roll. That's sitting on a bigger dolly, so that rolled no problem. This video is probably gonna be about like 3 or 4 days over course of time because I'm doing it after work and I have a very busy schedule this week. So enough talking. I'm gonna roll the subframe over into the light, what little light I have. Always do this. One, label your bolts. Label all your bolts. So without further ado, I'm gonna wheel this over to here, move this kind of out the way, and we will start tackling this first and foremost. Alright, so everything is apart. Got the control arms off. Subframe is completely stripped bare. This is all, I'm going to go through this another day. Probably going to take the lines off, clean it up. I'm not going to tear this down. I'm just going to clean it and call it a day. Now that we got all this done, I'm going to take all this stuff, put it off to the side. Now I'm going to be powder coating, take the steering rack, throw it off to the side, and we're going to move this over here. But I'm going to pick this up the following day because I need to go get an engine stand, and it's pointless to start tearing this apart when I can't even put the motor on top of it.
Tomorrow.
I already went ahead and pulled some miscellaneous brackets and the harness off already. Some boring stuff really. Just trying to get everything so it's not a lot of wasted film where I can get everything off. T-case, I went to the greatest store in the world, Harbor Freight, picked up a puller. So I'm gonna prop you guys up. I don't have a tripod, so just prop you guys up and do a little time lapse. Okay, so I got a lot of the stuff off the front, all the accessories and everything. I need to get more Ziploc bags. I ran out, so I just put all the bolts back where they were, just so I know once I get the bags I can label everything. But your boy's an idiot. I pulled the water pump off, and I'm sitting there telling myself, hey, don't pull it off. Make sure you have something underneath the motor to catch a lot of the fluid. So what do? I pulled the water pump off, and the fluid just literally just drained all over the floor. I'm an idiot. Unfortunately, there's not much more I can do, so I'm gonna go ahead and actually take the head off. That way I can have some help. Take the block, put it up on a stand, and that way at least that'll be there once obviously the transmission T-case are off. Okay, this is going to be the stopping point for now, but got the cams out. I don't know what's on them, but they do have some scoring and some heat marks on them, but there's also like a bunch of like shit and crap all over them. So they're kind of both the same. This one's pretty bad right here. I'm gonna clean up because, as you can see, my garage is a mess. I'm gonna start organizing everything so everything's good. Throw all the nuts and bolts into the bin here. I'm just gonna go ahead and just start removing everything. You guys get the gist. Start pulling things off. I got the intermediate shaft out. I didn't film. I was messing around and all of a sudden it just popped out. Basically, I just had one of these bolts laying over here. Screwed it into the end of the shaft enough, and I just put this little adapter thing on there, and I have the bigger boy now, the whole kit. And I just slammed it like once, and I saw the shaft kind of pop out a little bit, and I just pulled it out by hand. So I apologize, but for future reference, if you have this kit or can rent it, I just took like a little bolt like this with the washer on it. Would have probably been a little more solid. Put this little adapter piece on, put that over the lip like that, held it back, and just slammed it once, and it popped this thing right out. So we can take the T-case off, so I'm going to do that, and then we will fuck with this thing, because this is going to take me probably a while. I was messing with it last night and I could not release the throw bearing. Once I release it, we'll go ahead and start filming again, and we will pull the trans off, and then we will be left with just a motor. Well, I didn't catch any of that. I thought I was recording and I was not. But T-case is off. There's 3 bolts up top, 3 bolts at the bottom. You have to wiggle it off. Now let's mess with this. Like I said, I'm going to turn the camera off for this. I'm probably going to be doing this for a while. This is going to be probably the hardest part of this, is trying to release the throttle bearing inside so I can pull the whole transmission off, because without releasing that, you will never get this transmission off without breaking shit.
One eternity later.
Okay, so I was doing this for I'd say about an hour and a half. They recommend going through the bottom hole. The problem is I can't see from the bottom, so I was trying through here to try to shove it in, and at the bottom with the little flashlight trying to get in, and then I realized you'll be able to see it. It's right in there, and once you release it, mine actually locked in the center, and then I just hit it really hard and it came and it hit over here like this. This is where you want it to be, this position. But if you're ever doing this job, going through this little access port, you'll see this little breather thing will be sitting on top here like that. Pop that off, and it literally, you have all like so much space right into the top. Obviously, if this is in the car already, don't use this. If it is still in your car and you're trying to release it, go through the bottom, you'll be able to see it. It'll look exactly like it is here. But thankfully, I mean, within like 10 seconds, I just shoved the screwdriver in, did that, turned it, and it literally popped right in, and then I just slammed this forward and it works. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna pull the transmission off. It should come off not like butter, but hopefully good. Oh, that was not good. Well, shit. It's not what I wanted. At least everything's separated. Oh man, I'm a great mechanic. I'm for hire if anybody needs it. We'll get all this squared away and then we'll come back to you guys. Wow, these are like actual grooves in the pressure pad. I don't, look at all these heat spots. Flywheel got hot. That bitch got hot. This thing looks terrible, to be honest with you. Gonna get rid of that. Oh man, yeah, trash. Yeah, fuck that one up. Good. Okay, so here's the block. This is a EVO 8 block. The EVO 8 internals, if you see 63T E8. If it was a different block, like a 9 or 6 or 7, whatever, it's gonna say 63T E, and then it'll say 7 for EVO 7, 9 for EVO 9, EVO 6 will be E6. Cross hatching is still there. Little wear right here. It's like that on that cylinder. I'm going to assume all 4 cylinders are the same. This is what made me nervous, that the leak, because this was right over this cylinder here. So I think there was some sort of leak. Overall, not actually terrible. This one has a little bit, not super bad. This one looks a little more carbon buildup over here. So now I got to get the block up on the stand so I can turn it over and make even more of a mess, and we can go ahead and start pulling the internals out and then looking at the crank, because the crank is making me nervous. God, this thing got hot. All right, so here is a block torn down. So I have to pull this bouncer shaft out. Overall, it doesn't look too bad. I mean, it does look like it got a little hot here, but there's no grooves where your fingernail will get caught on them, so at least that's a plus. Here's the crank. No real, it's like a little groove on this one. It's gonna have to be polished for sure. This was the only groove that I felt was on this one right here. So
Not terrible. I think it should still be good.
There was a little bit of milkiness inside the oil pan. All the main journals on this look pretty good. That's just all going to be trashed. So all this has to go, well, not this, but this and this block and the pistons have to go to the machine shop Tuesday. That's why I'm trying to get this done. My garage is an absolute disaster. There's like no space to even walk. So a lot of the parts I'm going to be tossing. Pistons, rods, garbage. Bearings, all garbage. Clutch is garbage. Clutch and flywheel, garbage. I'm getting all new. Thrust washers, garbage. Oil pump, garbage. But for now, I think we're good. I have to go get some stuff to label the rest of the hardware. Anyway, this is where I'm going to probably end this video. I just want to show you guys a whole teardown process. Took me longer than expected, but unfortunately, such is life. Especially when you're working a 10-hour shift Monday through Friday. I hope you guys are stoked about this car as I am. I have a couple people that are really helping me out with it whenever I have questions. So huge shout out to them. Now it's time to powder coat and get grinding on this car, because I gave myself 2 months to get this car back up and running. Not so much paint and body on the outside, but paint in the inside. Engine done, turbo done, everything's done, ready to go where I can drive this car. I gave myself 2 months to do this, so we will see. But regardless, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay hungry, stay humble. Yeah, that's all I got for you. Later.
I swear to God, man, I'ma make it soon. Silence all the haters as they see us making moves. I do what I want, so I got nothing to prove. Staying motivated, teaching